Yeah. Hey now, what's happening, guys? This is my buddy Akil. Akil, you want to say hello?
Hi,
Um,
hello
we're
everyone.
we're doing something a little different today. So this is more like a podcast interview type deal. We're going to talk about autonomous shipping, and Akil is going to tell us all about that. So why don't you take it from there? What is autonomous shipping?
Yeah, just briefly, um, for a ship to move from point A to point B without any crew on board, really. But if you want to really define the levels of autonomy as per IMO, International Maritime Organization, it has got some levels of autonomy defined.
Right.
So the level 4 is being fully autonomous. That means the ship operates independently without human interaction,
And that's the
and
that's the highest level, right? Of
that's
autonomous
the
shipping.
highest
You're
level.
right. Okay.
Yes, that's where we want to take the industry to in the coming years.
Okay.
I'm Yeah, I still remember one of the video I've seen from Rolls Royce. Actually, I think back in 2016. It's quite fancy, very nicely done video, which shows how this autonomous shipping works. Possibly we'll put a link to actually to everyone to see that in the film. But it actually set the scene. What's the future of that? It shows that a person sitting in a remote operation center and then communicating with the vessel, a problem happened in the vessel and how he could resolve. It's kind of quite well, very very advanced one.
Right.
Um, um, but we 2016, so almost 9 years we passed. Um, but still, not big ships. We are not yet there.
Right.
Actually,
No,
we can
we're
see
not
some
there
small
yet,
ships.
but
Really.
the future is coming and the future is here. And it's
Yes.
this is I don't know if in my time that they will be fully autonomous ships, but I'm not going to count that out in the future. And I know that this is the way the whole world's going. So it's either get on board or get left out in my opinion. You know what I mean? How do you feel with that? Do you
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all have are going with the flow, really.
exactly?
What comes, because what we need to understand is that there is two things actually. I usually classify. One is the market pull. The other one is technology push. We
Right.
can see a lot of technology push because there is quite advancement we made in AI, machine learning, and all of that thing, and also some GPU and the NVIDIA makes all of this edge computing, all sort of technological advancement. So that's going in higher pace. But the thing is that that's we call the technology push, and they wanted to provide as much as solution they can because those are quite evolving area, and so that's the technology push is evident. But market pull, in terms of market pull, what market actually needs. So at the moment, if you look at it, the decarbonization, sustainability is a key thing.
Right.
And the other thing in the Europe is work-life balance of the crew. So not everyone is ready to join this sort of seagoing career. So there is a kind of shortage of crew for at least for this Western world. It's not the same as for the Asian countries.
Right.
Um, shortage of crew supply in Europe and the West, in the Western world, I would say in general, decarbonization. So these are the market pull, I would say,
Right.
and
Because they can't
uh,
get the guys to work on the ship, then there's going to be areas where autonomy, I guess that's how you say it, would help get the
yeah,
numbers down and the job done at the same time. So that's why
yeah,
so fully autonomous is like the end goal of what is going on. But there's
yeah,
stages to that the IMO defines, the International Maritime Organization. And the first one, I guess, the end goal is fully autonomous, but we can start with the first one with automated support, autonomous support. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, it's like automated support where crew on board with automation assisting in decision making. This
Right.
is happening already actually in the level one it
Right.
said. Um,
Does that like
it's
define
actually
as like autopilot? Is that a form of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything, reducing the crew function on board, we can classify it as it is, because we are able to track, get more data from the vessel, and then make useful insight, and also to prompt action. For example, one of the scenario I would say is that, for example, if you have to go to drive your vessel at the 8 knots, and you are driving it at 8 knots, but the system is able to say that, oh no, reduce the speed because there is a quite amount of wind is, a headwind is coming, so maybe reduce that to 6 knots for fuel efficiency,
Right.
and the system make it able to do it automatically or autonomously. That means we are already seeing this sort of automated support on board,
Right. So
and
that's going like with weather and with the current and whatever the predictions are. It says that you'll only lose, zero point 0.2 of a knots if you pull it back to 600 RPMs and going with the same route with the same headwind and all that kind of stuff. Is pretty much what that
absolutely,
means. Okay.
absolutely,
And
yeah, it is, and
that's already out in the world. Like
yeah, yeah, absolutely,
shipping
yes,
companies
yes,
are already using that. Okay. And now
yeah.
tell us about remote controlled with crew.
Yeah, that's something, we have so far some, it's just one thing we should understand. It depends upon the function of the vessel. Some of the some of the functions like the survey is actually quite good for this autonomous operation. So you see that that's a quite niche market actually developed for the survey purpose. You might have seen several companies doing already this with a smaller vessel, up to
Right.
10 meters, or small vessels goes to the outer sea and staying there for a longer time and collect data and come back. So these are already happening. So for that sort of vessel, a person from the shore is able to see that where he's going, where and even he can map out, which direction it has to go or which path it has to take,
Right.
etc. But one company actually stand out in this is it's called the CFAR. CFAR from the is a Belgium-based company, so it actually does for pretty bigger vessels as well, but inland waterways. And so they kind of set up a remote operation center, and they are doing all of that operation from that ROC.
Wow. Interesting
And
stuff
yeah,
there.
yeah. One so there are two aspects for this is how
Hey,
um,
sorry about that.
you kind of uh, if you have an issue with the vessel, who's going to support that, for the
Right.
maintenance thing. So if you are taking a short sea shipping sort of thing, or inland waterways, then you can help, wherever it has a problem, because the help is nearby. But when you have a transatlantic journey, then that help might take time. So maintenance is one of the key issue.
Right. And also,
And
I was
the
thinking with the crew, like coming and going from the dock. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Tying the
yes,
vessel up.
absolutely,
That kind of
absolutely.
stuff too. And I know, like,
Yeah, absolutely.
now this is just one episode that we're going to do over the course of we're going to do a lot of episodes, but and to touch space on all this because we have pilots for each port to talk about. We're just doing a general layout of what autonomous shipping looks like. Correct? Wouldn't you say that?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay, because I know that we could go into all kind of different corners of this and what's the laws and all that. But we're just wanting to get y'all's opinion mostly on what you think about it, because this is coming. This most of this is already here. You know what I mean? So we're just
Absolutely,
trying
yeah.
to talk about things like that.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Um, uh, do you think the industry is ready for these steps?
So the industry is pushing forward, but not for wide adoption, because it is like a multi-level perspective. Actually, I would say there are many players in this area, and the major roadblocks are like regulatory barrier and
Right,
maintenance. These are two big things actually to be resolved. So one thing we should all understand is that however it all the technology progress, but the regulatory body requires some sort of confidence in all of this technology, whether it can do it safely or not.
right, okay.
Um, and following that, it actually all affected this insurance of marine insurance. So who will in case of any accident, who will take the responsibility, all sort of multitude of, which we will anyway we'll
And
discuss that in the um, other episodes. But definitely the industry is not ready, but it is moving in the right direction.
and how about to making this work on a large scale, let's say from big cargo carriers coming from Europe to the United States? Like,
Yeah,
you're still going, in my opinion, I just don't see how it can be done without people on board. But I'm not hating on what the future will bring. I'm just saying that there's so many moving pieces, especially at this earlier stage, that a cargo vessel coming from, let's say, the UK where you are to America with nobody on board, that's it's kind of it's mind blowing for a lot of people. You know what I mean?
absolutely. Yeah, yes, exactly.
Um,
So, so just to one thing, when since you mentioned about the large cargo vessels, so as a captain or and operating the tugs, and so do you think autonomy makes sense for tugs
I
in the
think
near future?
yes, I do, and a lot of guys won't agree with me on this, but some task I do think it autonomy would actually make our jobs easier and safer and more economical. You know what I'm saying? The resources. Like, I'm just pulling up this thing on your website. Okay, so this is uh, just a piece of what a display would look like from me. So now, granted, that's just a tug going from Europe to the United States. But if I had something to tell me, like, I would get the best fuel consumption running at this speed, going at this RPM and running this specific route, and then alert me if anything pops up on this route, like in the water or on land or vessels. I feel
Yeah,
like that would be a big help to everybody, not just me. But that's also going to come with training and learning. So, like, this display would look like a iPad. You know what I mean? Something like
yeah,
I'm talking to you on. And it would have all of this stuff at my disposal at a glance, as long as you know where to look. You know what I mean? Instead of
yeah,
looking all over the place to find some of these answers, it would be right there in one screen that you could touch
yeah,
and that you can move around. So yes, I know I got a little off topic there, but it kind of excites me. I
yeah,
do think that it would
absolutely.
be helpful in the tugboat industry. Yes, I do. Now, as far as close quarter ship docking goes, I think it's going to be a while before we get to that point. But as far as navigating around the harbor and heading out to jobs or back from jobs, yes, I do think it would be a
Uh-huh.
great help.
So the when when it requires like a complex operation, and where you need to utilize the experience of the captain, then that might take some more time.
Right.
That makes sense actually what
I,
you said.
I
Yes.
do, but I'm all for helping get to that point. But yes, I just don't know how it's going to be. Like some of those
yeah,
maneuvers happen like this that you got to be ready. You're not sure, like a gust of wind could come that wasn't expecting, or
yeah,
anything, a hailstorm
yeah,
pop up
yeah,
or anything like that. But
yeah.
yes.
Now,
Um,
just following on that, I have just one more
okay, go
question
ahead.
to ask you, actually.
All right.
So, um,
I'm usually asking the
so let's
questions.
say, yeah. So let's say, so now you imagine that you've been actually, I don't know whether it's promoted or not, been promoted from the ship to the shore, actually, and then you've been asked to do remotely operate the tug. Would we be happy to do that, or
I would trial it if that's what you're saying, but as far as taking me off the tug to drive, I don't know about that. I would have to see that paycheck. Um, my whole life has been on the water though, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I don't know if I could, let's say, sit. Now don't get me wrong, I love my family and I would love to be home with them every night, but as far as, going, let's say, from just working a regular shift from home, from as on a boat, I don't know, maybe I could do it, but you're missing a lot of the element aspect about going, what goes into being a seaman, you know what I mean, a sailor, in that respective. But I'm not saying that it couldn't get there, but I would definitely love to trial that if I could sit at a computer and run a boat from there.
yeah, yeah. So definitely there is a human element, isn't it? And also, yeah, the industry will face a little bit of resistance because there are people who loves to be on water and enjoy
Yes.
that work as well. Absolutely,
No
yeah.
matter
So we,
the grumpiest sailor out there still loves being on the water. They might not tell you that, but they do.
yeah, yeah. All
Oh,
right.
so how about give me your perspective on this large versus small vessels? Like, do you think a smaller vessel would be easier to implement some of these things compared to a 1,200 foot cargo carrier or a 1,000 foot tanker?
Um, I guess the smaller vessel makes sense actually to me to start with because just one reason is that it also depends upon the function of the vessel, which I mentioned. If there is a complex operation, no matter it's a small or big one, it's going to be a very difficult job actually. Let's say just purely on the size perspective, I would say it makes sense to start with a small one, and then as we go more confident on the operation,
I agree
go
with
to the
that
bigger vessel. The reason
100%.
for that being, if you have a problem with your and you have to completely abandon your vessel, how much the risk you have for, because the capital capex of the vessels are quite massive, for the bigger vessel. So you don't want to do that. So the
Right.
smaller one, and then get that, build up that operation, and then get more confidence on the safety and all aspects of the all these systems, and then yeah, I think that is how the regulation and also all sort of things will develop
Right. No,
in that
I
order.
get that. My only thing I was saying is, on a larger vessel, you're pretty much going from point A to point B. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
more of holding a course over the sea or wherever you're going, as
yeah,
where a smaller vessel, there's a lot of maneuverability, maybe,
yeah, yeah,
around the docks, around there. You know what I'm saying? When you got huge vessels, there's only a few places that those huge vessels can tie up or anchor. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But
yeah,
smaller one, but that also helps you get control of the small movements, is what driving a tugboat is all about. So
yeah,
it'll
yeah,
help you, I guess, mimic what the captain's doing on those small movements, but
yeah,
they're really not all the same. But this is
yeah,
interesting stuff. I'm liking it.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
let's see.
It,
Are ship owners looking in the market, or is it more being technical? Like, I know there's
I
a
think
technology
technology. I think
push. I think there's a push, but
yeah.
are actual people that are building these ships, are they looking for this?
Uh, to me, not if this has to work, that has to have a strong business case. As far as I'm aware, I don't think it is. We don't have a strong business case to do this because
It's still
it's quite
still
it's quite
new.
yeah, yes, and also it's quite capital intensive as well.
Oh
It is
yeah,
all of
it's
this
expensive.
because
Anything's
this is
expensive.
a yeah, there's a hardware and the software. All of this going to make the ship super expensive. So who going to bear that capex? So at the moment, as in Europe, there are few testing going on. Pilot study and some companies like CFAR, and also there is a Yara Birkeland, a Norwegian project that also happened, but still they are driving. They're supposed to be autonomous, but still there are few crew on board, so they are not fully autonomous yet. So it's slow and steady, I would say.
Right? No, yeah, yeah, I get that. And this is inevitable. So it's I can see how some ship owners are actually holding off. I feel like, some automation with a crew on board would be very, very helpful. And just to think about ships going from with nobody is scary for a lot of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It is.
absolutely.
So the world's going to have
Yeah,
to adapt to what the future is beholding. Um,
yeah, yeah,
so
absolutely, yes. Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Like, what kind of training do you think for? Let's start at the beginning phases of, like, I know that we're already using some automation, but like the more in depth we get, the more training that you're going to have to do. Correct? And like
yes,
what and
yes.
what will that training look like?
I think that will be like more sort of simulation centers. It's already happening in the tech industry.
Right.
Those who are able to do all this simulation-based training before getting into the actual job, that actually improves the safety. I would say that that sort of things will increase, and the training centers will play a key role, and also the universities, they will also have a key role producing uh, the next generation seafarers who are actually better at human machine interaction,
Right.
because more machines will take more control, and there's a way we should be able to redefine how human machine will deliver or create value for the industry.
Right.
So, of course, the training and education in this digital industry will be quite key, I would say. Yeah,
And I have to give a shout out to my tags on that. They have, it's really, I've only done two simulators, but the simulator at
yeah,
their school was very impressive and very real life for training activities and whatnot.
yes,
Um, you want to talk to us a little bit about the Mass Will platform before we go and tell us what that looks like?
yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So that's the I'm working for the startup called Autonomous, which is basically we want to enable autonomous shipping. Free to look in our website as well, www.autonomousco.uk. You'll find more information anyway on
Definitely
that.
have that linked.
Yeah, yeah. So please put in our comment box or wherever you feel nice, so that everyone can take a look in that. So it's basically we have a passion to work on these autonomous operations to make this happen. So we do have a inward and outward looking. Inward is basically we wanted to take the ship from point A to point B with reduced crew support, or maybe enabling the crew for better operational efficiency, and also outward looking. That means whomever is supporting the vessel in terms of maintenance, operation, we kind of take a look from outward as well. So this is how we are progressing, and we feel that it's a quite exciting time to be to work on this for this startup, especially with this all of technology, development. It's all kind of quite exciting, but at the same time, we need to get involved with the various stakeholders. It's not just about the technology, but keeping everyone in the loop, understanding what market needs and what people need, and what technology can do, and regulatory regime, risk, insurance, the maintenance, and the list goes on.
Right.
So yeah, I'm sure that those who are seeing this
Man.
this video, I would say that um, if you got any sort of interest in this one, I would like to speak to you. Feel free to leave a comment, and also I would like to know that your view on the autonomous shipping, especially either positive, negative, or neutral, whatever it could be. I'm happy to take it further. Actually, that discussion.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'll have Akil's the website down there so you can look that up, and he's going to be helping me monitor and field some comments too, so feel free just to comment on YouTube and I will send him his way for
Yeah,
anything that you have. Is there anything that we're missing, or do you want to save some stuff for the next time, or what do you think?
yeah. I think I just to uh, just one question I want to drop here, just to invite some comment. So the specific question is: do you think full autonomy will happen first in cargo shipping, tugs, or any another sector, or whichever segment you think happens? I know the survey field is quite advanced in that area, but uh, please let us know that which
Right.
sector you would think that is uh, good for this autonomous shipping or
Well,
autonomy.
see, it's for fully it scares me, but I do think that there is a place for it. But as far as like no crew on board in the future, like that's why I was going to nitpick. In the next, let's say, 10 years, I can see autonomy with a crew on board. You know what I mean? But as far as
Yeah,
a ship leaving the UK and docking in the United States with no crew on board whatsoever, I feel is a long way off from where we are.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
from the regulations alone, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
changing laws in your country and my country for that matter. You know what I mean?
yeah,
The whole
yeah,
maritime laws. But I
yeah,
do feel with a crew on board that there's not, and even if it's a skeleton crew of 6 people on a 1,200-foot ship or something like that. I feel like that is more that's possible is what I'm saying, and
yeah,
and that's coming.
absolutely.
But with nobody on board, I don't know. I'm all excited to see how it happens, but I don't know those hurdles that people are going to have to go through. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And I know coming from a different perspective, you might have different thoughts on that than I do. But actual like seeing and being in the weather and being out there, I think it would be. I don't know. I'm excited to see what the future holds.
absolutely. Yes, I,
but
I do same.
thank you so much for
Yeah,
doing this. And what we'll do another one next month and answer some of the
yeah,
questions we get on this one.
absolutely. And let's see who can join us for
Yeah, and
taking it
I'll
further.
you try to get some guys from your end and some guys from my end, and we'll see how it goes. Akil and I have been
Yeah,
talking and friends for about a year now, discussing autonomy and autonomous and all kinds of things. So this should be a
yeah.
good segment to get everybody talking.
Thanks for helping us out actually on these
Yeah,
things, and it's quite useful and highly, um, you're motivating us as well equally.
right. And hold on. Etta wants to say bye. Thanks for putting up with her dog barking. All right, Akil. I'll
All right
talk
then.
to you
Thank you very
soon.
much.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Hey now. Thanks
Bye
for
bye.
watching.